Today we're going to demonstrate the serum protein electrophoresis using the Helen Laboratories Titan gels that we have here in this nice little cassette to keep them moist. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to label our tubes. We have a QC, which is usually a normal specimen that comes from the manufacturer, and we're going to dilute them 1 to 4, as well as 2 patient samples. So I'm going to use their accessioning number. And then we're going to dilute it with the buffer solution that will be actually running in our chamber. So I have a nice little aliquot. And it's going to be 5 microliters of sample and 15 microliters of the buffer. So I'm going to do the buffer first, just because I think it's a little easier to do it that way. I don't know if it super matters, but it's the way I prefer. So this is the 100 microliter pipette. It's also nice if you do the buffer first, you don't have to change tips. All right. And then we have a 0.5 to 10 microliter pipette. This is not one of your standard ones that you have assigned to you, so you'll have to get it from the bench. We'll have them out for everyone to use. And these use special tips. They're very tiny. So tiny. Now I'm going to pipette 5 microliters of my QC. And since it's such a tiny little amount, I'm going to try to tap it down. And pipette it up and down several times to mix it. And I might even give it a little flick. And then tap it down again, because it's such a small little volume. Also a little whipping motion you can do too, but we're not gonna get that fancy. And our last specimen. And if I had a lot of specimens, I would just be making sure I'm checking the accession number with my label. I have them lined up so that they're all in the order that I need. And that just saves brain power for later. All right. That's just the tiniest little amount, but we only need a few microliters. So now we're going to open our gel from the cassette, and make sure we don't touch the gel. The best way to get it out is to kind of bend back this plastic and shoot a finger underneath it so you don't touch the top of the gel. And then I'm going to place it on a paper towel. And I'm going to lay a blotter paper, these come in the kit, gently across the area where we're going to be applying it, which is slightly below the numbers. Just going to lay it on there for a second or two, and then gently peel it away. Ah, my gel's coming with me. There we go. There. So make sure you're watching it so it doesn't try to run away. All right, so then we're going to take our template. It has little slits in it. And we're going to line them up with the numbers on the gel. I'm doing it just underneath the numbers. And you're trying to make sure that there's no air bubbles. So I'm just going to gently tap it to make a good seal. Very gently. And now I am going to take 3 microliters of my diluted specimens and add these inside of the little template areas. And you want to make sure you don't scratch the gel with your pipette tip. So this can get a little tricky. All right, so 3 microliters. And I use my hand to stabilize, because otherwise it gets a little sketchy. Oh, such a tiny little amount. So I'm just kind of using the pipette tip to smooth it across the template, but making sure I'm not jabbing the gel. So this is where you want to be careful, but you do have to work a little quickly. Smoothing it across. Boom. And this one. Don't drink a lot of coffee before this lab. It'll make the shaking worse. Okay, there we go. So now I'm on step 7. I'm going to do a timer for 4 minutes to let this absorb into the gel. All right, so we're just waiting for our 4-minute timer to go off, and then we are going to gently blot. There we go. There, okay. Now we're taking our second little blotter paper. We're going to gently blot to remove the excess and remove it. And trash that. And then we are going to wait 30 seconds. I'm going to do a mental count. All right, so I'm going to remove the template and make sure we don't peel up the gel. So I'm gonna go with that approach. There we go. Discard him. All right, so now we get to do some fun stuff. So we're going to take our buffer solution. There is we have in our apparatus, we have this little cartridge that's going to hold our gel, and then the chamber, and there's a max fill line. So we're gonna fill the buffer up to that max line, and it's gonna overflow into both sides. Woo, fun. Like a waterfall. Ta-da! All right, so now we're gonna place the agarose gel side down, which seems kind of scary. And we're going to make sure that the numbers line up with the cathode, which is the -1 or the black one. So on this gel, there's places where the gel isn't present, so over by the numbers and at the bottom, there's not really gel there, so that's where I'm going to kind of grab it to place it in here. No pressure, guys. Okay. And you don't want bubbles underneath it either. So that looks pretty good. I don't see any bubbles. All right. And it's supposed to kind of set into place. There's like a little notch for it to settle into. All right, we're gonna cover it. Make sure the red lines up with the red and the black lines up with the black. Snap it on and put it in. All right, so we're gonna turn on our power source. It's gonna welcome us. And you wanna make sure that the voltage is set to 120. Right now it's set to 125, so I just bumped it down. And then we are going to turn it on with the run stop button and set a timer for 20 minutes. If you look closely, there's little bubbles, and that's lets you know that the current's going and that it's working. If you don't see bubbles, call an instructor and we can help troubleshoot why there's no bubbles. So our timer just stopped after our 20-minute run of our electrophoresis. So I'm going to turn off the power source. And then I am going to unplug it. You always want to make sure you're not connected to power before you open anything. And open this up. This is actually a little warm, which is normal. This is why gels can't run for a really long time, because the actual heat will start to denature the proteins in your gel. Oh, don't want it to splash, so I'm trying to be careful. Okay, there we go. We'll make sure that these get cleaned to get rid of any salt from the buffer that might accumulate on the electrodes. So now I'm going to remove my gel from here and see, you can't really see that anything's happened. So you're kind of taking it on faith right now. So I am going to figure out how to get this out. My best bet, I think, is to start from the numbers and maybe gently scooch it. That's the approach I'm doing. I'm not sure it's the best approach, but it's what I'm doing. And then see if I can peel it up. There we go. All right. So now this is the gel, and I am going to submerge it for 5 minutes in our methanol, and I have now filled these beakers with the various stains and dye fixatives and stuff that we're going to need. Okay, so I'm going to submerge it for 5 minutes in methanol. Go, my little friend. So while this has been soaking in the methanol, I took that opportunity to clean the electrophoresis chamber and dry it. So once this goes off, we are going to, thank you. Once this goes off, we are going to take it out of the methanol, and I'm still, since there's still a gel in here, I'm still making sure I'm not damaging the gel. Make sure you get kind of the extra liquid off. And I'm going to lay it on a clean paper towel. Thank you, little friend. And I've labeled this paper towel with my initials, which is important because it is about ready to go into an oven with everyone else's gels, and you want to make sure that you know which one is yours. So I'm going to put this in an oven that is 60 to 70 degrees Celsius for about 10 minutes until the gel is completely dry. And it's important that it's completely dry, otherwise it's not going to destain properly. So make sure you're being patient, and only the instructor is allowed to open the oven, because otherwise people are opening it every 30 seconds to check to see if their gel is dry, and it takes forever for the gels to dry. So an instructor will be in charge of opening and closing the oven. And I will show you the oven and what it's going to look like. I have returned from the incubator where my gel is now dry. I don't know if you can see that, but it's dry. So now it is ready to be stained. All right, I'm gonna make sure I do all the right steps. I've been kind of putting little dots as I've been doing them so I don't get confused. All right, so we're gonna stain this for 10 minutes in the Amido black stain. And I might need to add a little bit more to my beaker. We'll find out. So we're ending the 10-minute staining of the Amido black on our gel, and then we're going to move it to the destaining solutions for 1 minute each. So I'm going to remove the gel from the stain. You see that we have some bands. So, woohoo. So, allow it to drain on a paper towel. So you see you have aluminum foil down here. That's so that the stain doesn't seep through the paper towel and onto the bench and stain our benches blue, because that would not be good. So now I've got a little bit of the excess stain off here. Now I'm going to put it for 1 minute into the fixative. All right, now time to move it to the next one. Just gonna try to get off as much of the blue as possible. You can see it's already looking much cleaner. I'm gonna go ahead and move it to the next one for a minute. And the next step is to place it in some water, which is our last beaker. This will also be for a minute. Alright, so now I'm going to take our Kim wipe that's covered in methanol, and on the back of it, I'm just going to gently wipe it. Make sure it's clean. I'm going to set it down and see what my next step is. So I'm going to put it in the oven for 10 minutes until it's completely dry, and then we can observe the bands. And you could also do a densitometry scan to actually get the little peaks and valleys of how dark the different bands are.